Greetings. Because this is originally recorded live, we're going to take a few minutes to allow everyone to get on. In the meantime, join me with some introduction music. We have our fire here. This is the way my ancestors shared their stories, their ideas. We would gather around the fire, and the elders would talk, and the young ones would listen. And eventually, knowledge would be shared. So join me. So thank you all for joining. If you missed the very beginning, this is welcoming you. This is inviting everyone and everything in our universe to come join us, so that we are not alone in this evening, so that we get to embrace each other's knowledge and listen to an elder who may have a piece of information that we're missing in our reality. I've got my wife here, and she's playing in the drums. A typical witch of the old days. She's an outsider, and outsiders don't like to be seen. They don't like to be in the light. They don't like to be known all the time. This is why magic is secretive. This is why the powers of magic have always been held at the most esteem and always done in the darkest of places, hidden from the everyday person. We'll give everyone a few more minutes. It looks like I have a large group of you here. This is wonderful. Thank you for joining me and my family this evening. So as always, when people gather, there always has to be an invitation of spirit. Tonight, we are drinking mead. This is our spirit. So welcome. And just enough for those who we cannot see. So over the next 5 days, we're going to talk about some core principles that Miss Shaw and I have worked really hard to discover and fine-tune in order for us to be able to teach people what it is that they need to master within themselves to find their own inner magic. We've discovered there's 4 areas. Those 4 areas are directly tied to the metaphysical laws within our reality. Just like there's physical laws such as gravity, there's about 15 or 16 metaphysical laws that are also part of our reality. And those laws are just as important to us as our physical laws. I encourage each of you to get the book, The Kybalion. Tomorrow I'll add notes in the comments of where you can get it. It's a cheap book. It's an easy read. I do not ask for you to become a Hermetic. Instead, I ask you to only open your mind and read their perspective of what the metaphysical laws of our reality might be. Out of all of the sources out there, I have discovered that this one is probably the closest and the easiest for us to understand and grasp, probably on the first or second read. Tonight we're going to talk about those laws. All week we're going to talk about those laws. So I've broken them up into 5 groups. Tonight we're going to talk about one group of them, and so on. The second part of these 4 core principles is the parts of self. Tonight we're going to talk about the parts of self that everybody seems to know. But we're going to continue to talk about different parts of self that most people have forgotten or have simply neglected to pay attention to. Okay? The third thing we're going to talk about is the mental capacities and consciousness that we have to empower and train so that we can understand our reality and interact with it on a metaphysical level. This is done through meditation. I know it's a terrible word. Most people fear meditation by all means. And this is because they have a misunderstanding what meditation is. Meditation is only to invoke thought about a single subject or idea, and to hold that thought until new knowledge is gained. So meditation isn't that complicated. We've done it our whole lives. The third thing we will talk about are the things within our reality that we should venerate. Veneration should be a lifelong dream, a lifelong goal, something we do every day, and we do not neglect any part of the things that need to be venerated. Those things are super vital to our reality and our understanding of it. If you have questions, please feel free to add them in the comments. If they pertain to the subject and the items within the subject I'm talking about tonight. Because this is a 5-night series, some of your questions will be answered later. If those questions will not be answered later this week, I will answer those questions in the comments. If they will be answered later this week, I encourage you to come watch the other videos. So let us begin. The first thing we will talk about is we will talk about 3 Hermetic laws. The first Hermetic law, and it's super important, and that's the law of Divine Oneness. The law of Divine Oneness simply states that all things are connected. You, me, the fire, the bugs, the rose bush behind me. All things. Nothing is omitted from this. If all things are connected, then we have a responsibility to recognize our relationship with all those things. This can be measured pretty easily in our reality. Flowers make it possible for bees to exist. Bees make it possible for the flowers to exist. The flowers produce oxygen that allows us, our physical self, to continue to breathe and live within this reality. If the bees were to die tomorrow, our life expectancy would be cut to almost nothing. This is how important the law of divine oneness can become. And this is why we should recognize it and make it part of our daily reality. The next law is the law of vibration. The law of vibration simply states that all things resonate at a specific vibrational frequency. And that vibrational frequency is unique unto each thing. Those things include thoughts, beliefs, ideas, and actions. Not just physical things in our reality, but non-physical things in our reality also vibrate at a very specific frequency. Recognizing those vibrational frequencies can become equally as important as all other things within our reality, because it is through the vibrational frequency that we can begin to manifest change based off of certain principles of magic. The third law is the law of resonance. And the law of resonance is part of the law of vibration. The law of resonance says each thing vibrates at its own unique frequency. It also introduces the idea of the first law of magic. The first law of magic is contact creates contagion. That is, contact creates contagion. Anything in physical contact of something else begins to resonate the same vibrational frequency as the original thing. This is what makes it possible for vessel work to work, for candle work, which holds a thought, to manifest. This is the keynote to invoking our will and desire upon our reality, is understanding that everything has a vibrational frequency, the law of vibration, and that vibrational frequency has a resonation that has the ability to change based off of what it's in contact with, the law of resonation. Now we will talk about 3 parts of self. And yes, I'm going to go quickly tonight. Take your notes, come back and watch me again. If you have greater questions that wish to broaden these subjects, feel free to reach out to me. I take one-on-one consults Tuesdays through Sundays every week. The first part of self is pretty obvious. It's our body, our physical self. Without our physical self, we could not experience this reality. So our physical self is vitally important. So important that when our physical self dies, we stop experiencing, the other parts of self, stop experiencing this reality. We become what is known as woken or ascended, and we leave our physical self, and our understanding of reality shifts. That shift, there's some dogmatic and indoctrination beliefs on what happens in that shift. But when we look at all 10 parts of self, it'll begin to make sense. But the most important part is our physical self. And just to answer Derby's question, these are not Wiccan laws. These are Hermetic laws. Go back to the beginning of the video. The second part of self is spirit. The spirit of oneself, or the breath, which was truly the pronunciation. The breath of oneself is what gives that body life. So enforced that it takes our breath in order to invoke change within our reality. So enforced that without our breath, our body ceases to exist. And just like I said, and our body ceases to exist, the other 10 parts of self ascend to something else. The third part of self that we're going to talk about tonight, also well known, is thought, our consciousness. What it is that we become in our minds, in the moment, in the now. Not in the past, not in the future, just right now. The thoughts that we carry right now are part of who we are, very much so. And they hold true probably as equally as our body and our breath, or our spirit. So we have to recognize that this is a key component. Our thoughts play a unique role. And if we go back to the Hermetic Laws, uniquely, our thoughts also have a vibrational frequency. They resonate with certain things, certain concepts, certain physical things within our reality. So if we can't have control of our thoughts, if we cannot manipulate our thoughts to create the desires that we want in our mind, how can they ever become our reality? This begins through meditation. The meditation I'm going to teach you tonight is called the mindful meditation. I encourage each of you to put your writing utensils down. Simply close your eyes, and we're going to start with some simple breathing techniques. We're going to inhale for a 4 count. That's 2, 3, 4. And we're going to exhale for a 4 count. 3, 4. And we're going to stop breathing for a 4 count. 3, 4. In. Out. Stop. Miss Shaw is going to play a drum to hold our count. In. Out. Stop. During this breathing, all we're going to do is allow our minds to come aware of what it is that we think about. It's a mindful meditation. We have to know what our thoughts are. We have to understand them. It is through understanding these thoughts that we can move beyond them, convert them into the vibrations we want, make them something more. In. Out. Stop. Where does your mind go? More importantly, how does this thought serve you in the future self? How does this thought make you better? If it doesn't, perhaps we should work on getting rid of that thought. Perhaps we should do something else with it entirely. If it's a thought that doesn't serve your future, write it down. Make it real. We'll do something later with it. And then allow your mind to wander again. What thoughts come to your mind? In. Out. Stop. What is your new thought? Is it the old thought? But you've written that down, so you need to let that one go. Is it a new thought? How does that thought serve? Does that thought make you better? Will that thought make you stronger or weaker? Remember, our ancestors were very strong beings, very important beings to our reality. They were all strong, none of them weak, because then if they were weak, you would not be here tonight. In. Out. Stop. When you conclude a meditation, it's important that you gradually bring yourself back to your reality. This is close the ideas that you're focusing on. Allow them to simply go back to where they were. And then when you're done, silence them. Practice this meditation. Thank you, Michelle. You should do the mindful meditation every day before you start any other meditation. This helps you deal with the everyday things, the bills, our children, our parents, our loved ones, what's for dinner tonight. It helps us deal with these stupid things that we've made important to our reality so that we can get them out of the way. Then you go to tomorrow night's video and you do that meditation. But that is how simple meditation is. That is all it is to invoke a thought and hold it until something new happens. The last thing we're going to talk about tonight is veneration. Without you in this reality, your reality would not exist. Without your presence, the experience of yourself would not exist. And the experience of those around you would be vastly different because they would not have you as an influence. If our reality is made up of 75% subjective imagination and only 25% objective reality, that means your thoughts, dreams, ambitions, ideas create 75% of your reality. When we share an experience, we only share 25% of that experience. The rest is subjective, based off of each of us as an individual. The most important and the very first thing we should begin to venerate is self. Veneration is simply the recognition that what we are venerating plays a significant role within our reality, giving it respect, honoring its presence and power, and invoking it to do what it's there to do. So why would we not venerate self first? This is taking care of the body, taking care of the mind, taking care of our breaths, learning how to breathe in such a way that we can create change within the other parts of self, like the 4 count I just taught you. These are super vital when you realize that without you, your reality would not be. In conclusion, I encourage you to create your own narrative. Begin to write your own song, your own story, your own concept of what it was that your life is, was, and will be. This is super important to recognize that we have the power to say what has and will happen to us. This is so important on so many levels because our hardships in life don't have to be negative. They can be lessons that we learn from to make us better, make us stronger. Those weak things, those weak thoughts, and those weak memories that make you weak and ill, examine them. How can they make you stronger? What can you add to your story, your narrative, to realize that they aren't a weakness, but they are a hidden strength that you haven't found yet? I'll give you an example. I was raised by a very abusive father. He suffered from disease. He suffered from addiction. My mother abandoned me when I was 7 so that my father would raise me on his own. From 7 until 12, my father used to beat me almost every day. And when I was young, I blamed him. It was his fault. when I began my journey, the first thing I was taught, my father didn't beat me. My father had two simple rules. Do not lie, and get good grades. So from 7 to 12, every day I came home and he would ask me, do you have homework? And I would lie. No, I don't have any homework. And because I never did my homework, I also got bad grades. So my father punished me based off of his laws, his two rules. But was he punishing me, or was I teaching myself something? See, when I became an adult, I joined the military. And I had the ability to disassociate my mind from my body. I could endure pain that most people can't. I can endure mental hardship that most people can't. And 3 years ago, on my father's deathbed, he asked me for forgiveness. And I looked at him and I said, there's nothing to forgive. It is through you that I became the man that I am today. Stronger, more adaptable, more resilient than the peers I went to school with. This is rewriting your narrative. This is taking something that happened to you that you consider trauma and bad because of societal norms. I mean, let's face it. But making it something valuable and a strength. Because it is in that strength that we become better humans. And we become more than what we are. Remember, you are the most important thing within your reality. Without you, your reality would not exist. 75% of your reality is subjective imagination that comes from you. Review the 3 Hermetic Laws that we covered tonight. Get the Kybalion. Look at the 3 parts of self that we talked about. Are you treating them right? Are you giving them their due just? Are you venerating all parts of who you are? The good and the bad. Bad is subjective. Good is subjective. They are just you. Thank you so much for joining me in this show. I hope that you enjoyed this. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. You want to come say goodbye? From our house to yours. Good evening.
Love you.